Howdy folks, in today's video I'm going to show you how to make the steam bending box. Utilising just a simple wallpaper stripper, we can get the heat and steam into this box, into the fibres of the wood, and cause it to become highly malleable, suitable for a plethora of different creative projects. So stick around and find out how. So first up then, we're going to need to gather some materials, and I'm going to be using 18mm exterior or marine plywood for the steam bending box itself. We'll then need to go ahead, measure and mark and make several cuts, 4 for the sides of the steam bending box, 1 for the end cap, 1 for the door, and then several for the legs to support the steam bending box on. The 2 legs will be of differing sizes. The reason being is to allow excess moisture to travel down the box and exit through the drain. I'll go through the exact dimensions shortly, but as well as the sides, the legs and the end caps, we'll also need some internal supports to support our material as we place it inside the box. For this we're going to be using 12mm dowels. We're going to make 6 cuts, each at 16.6cm each. To achieve a really consistent cut, I've clamped a piece of plywood to act as a spacer. That way every cut will be exactly the same, and when it comes to piecing the box together, it will fit nice and snugly. So at this stage then, we should have 4 cuts, 150cm long by 17.5cm wide. We should have our 2 end caps and our door at 18.4 by 18.4, 4 cuts for our steam box legs at 10 by 18.4, 1 cut of 18.1 by 18.4, and an additional cut at 16.9 by 18.4, as well as our 6 16.6cm long dowel supports. Be sure to leave a link in the description for all the dimensions, but with that now complete, we can now go ahead and set up our router table. We're going to need to route a rebate across one side of each of our 4 sides of the steam box, so our 150cm by 17.5cm boards. This rebate should be 9mm deep and come in 9mm from the side, just like so. We can now go ahead and flip the boards over. We can now make a groove for our rebate to sit in, and again, using the router, the groove will be 9mm deep and 9mm wide, but this time it will be 18mm in from the edge. To help prevent any tear out at the end of the boards, use a scrap piece of board to support it as it's passed through the router. Great, so we should now have a 9mm rebate on one side, a 9mm groove on the other, and that's going to allow our 4 pieces to slot together. But before we do that, we're going to create our cutouts for our dowel supports, our inlet for the steamer, and the drain hole. Let's begin with our dowel supports then. I'm beginning with making a mark a third of the way up the height of our long boards. This is going to be the height in which the dowel supports will sit. And then coming in 12.5cm from the first side, and then subsequently every 25cm from there, and making a mark. You can then go ahead and attach a 12mm Forstner bit to your drill and drill down 10mm deep. This will ensure there's enough depth for the dowel to sit in without actually going all the way through the board. To help gauge the correct depth, it can be useful to apply tape to the Forstner bit to make sure you're stopping at the right point. As well as creating holes for our dowel supports, we'll also need to do so for our mains inlet as well as our drain hole. The mains inlet will sit halfway down the length, and the drain hole will sit at the very end here. We simply need to measure across the width of the board, find the halfway point, and mark where the drain hole is going to go, and repeat this step for the mains inlet. As we did with our router, it's really good practice to support your workpiece with another piece of timber. That should hopefully reduce the risk of any tear out and leave a nice clean finish. Once we've completed our cutouts, we can go ahead and install the compression fitting. This will allow us to connect the wallpaper stripper to the steam box itself. This particular one is a straight compression fitting. They're 12mm or 1/2 inch wide and normally used for plumbing applications. I've removed the nuts on both and I'm simply going to screw the male thread into the steam box itself. This will leave the other male thread exposed, allowing us to connect our wallpaper stripper. Do check though that your wallpaper stripper has a 12mm thread. You'll need to buy the compression joint that will fit the wallpaper stripper accordingly. It's then just a case of installing the nut on the inside of the steam box. We can now go ahead and start piecing our steam box together. As you can see, I've used no glue in this process. I'm simply using the joints as well as a few mechanical fixings a little later on. If your joints are good, you should have a nice tight fit. You may need to use a rubber mallet just to help persuade some of it along. Once dry fitted, we can now measure and mark where the screws are going to go. I'm going to begin measuring 12.5cm in from the side, then every 25cm from there. We can go ahead, drill a pilot hole, countersink the hole, and then install the screws. I'm using 4x35mm screws for this installation. With our box shape now complete, we can go ahead and install one of our 18.4 by 18.4cm pieces of plywood. This will act as the end cap. On the other side, however, we'll have our door, so first off we'll need to add some weather stripping. Simply peel back the sticky tape and apply it in place around the perimeter of the opening. You can now really see the steam box beginning to take shape. And next, to install the door, we'll need to add some hinges. You can go ahead and make these flush if you like, but for the purposes of making this a little quicker, I'm just going to install these on the surface, first by marking where the screw holes need to go with a pencil, then drilling a pilot hole to prevent the plywood from splitting. I can then go ahead and screw the screws in. Lastly, we'll need a leg to stand on, and to help excess moisture escape, the steam box will need to be tilted slightly towards the direction of the drain hole, so just like my first girlfriend, one leg will be shorter than the other. Our four 10 by 18.4cm pieces will act as the feet, whilst the shortest 16.9 by 18.4 piece will sit at the front nearest the drain hole, and the taller 18.1 by 18.4 piece will sit at the back. Using the 4x35mm screws again, simply screw the feet onto the opposing sides of each leg to create eye-shaped legs. Once complete, we can go ahead and screw both the legs to the underside of the steam box, 25cm in from each end. Lastly then, to complete the installation, we'll just need to add a latch to the door. With everything now complete, we can go ahead and attach our wallpaper stripper. Check your manual, but our wallpaper stripper needs around 20 to 30 minutes to really heat up. So close the door on the steam bending box and allow it to sit empty for this period of time. Once the box starts producing steam like this, it's ready to insert your timber, and ideally you want to leave in there for about 40 minutes to an hour. Hardwood is preferable to softwood, and also any wood that has a high moisture content such as greenwood will also react well to this process. We can then go ahead and take our timber out and test to see how malleable it is. If it won't conform to a shape like this, it may be an idea to place it in the box for longer or use a thinner or different species of timber. This steam bending process can be used for a ton of different woodworking projects, and just take a look at online media platforms such as Pinterest to gain some valuable inspiration. I myself used it to make these window surrounds, which were then installed into my little camper. I'll leave a link in the description for the video that follows this process, but I hope this has been helpful to some of you and hope to see you on another video soon.